Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So in the last tutorial, this is a continuation of our API series. So if you're new to this channel, well, welcome back. Welcome to my channel. My name is Prince, and this channel is called CodewithPrince. So if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please kindly consider subscribing to support me. I have just begun my YouTube channel, so your subscription will be of great importance to me. So in today's tutorial, we're going to continue with our FastAPI e-commerce API series. So just going to be building an API. So there's a lot of APIs in this sentence, but yeah, we're going to be building a simple e-commerce API using FastAPI. So in the last tutorial, you have reached the point you have been able to register a user, and when the user registers, we use signals to create a business that relates to that user. And all we want to do now is to send a confirmation email confirmation email to the user so that the user can confirm their email, and then we can verify that it's and then we can in the model, right, in the user, we have a field called is verified. So we can this is just a boolean. So we want to check if the user is verified, and then we can keep this to be true because by default it's false. So that's what you want to do in this tutorial. So let's get started. So for now, let's just go into and write the functionality that deals with the sending of the email. So this is going to create a file here. I'm going to call it email.py, right? This is going to be dealing with sending our emails. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and actually we need to install a couple of libraries before reaching this point. So let me just go back, pull up my browser. Let me just show you where we have reached so far. So if I just do you run our app again and then go to localhost at port this one here, this is where we have reached so far. Okay, so we have done the user registration. So now we want to deal with the email confirmation, sending the email confirmation. Okay, so I'm going to be using a library called FastAPI-Mail. So you can just go to pypy.org and then you can search for FastAPI-Mail, and then you can copy this link. You can go back to your terminal. I'll just stop my development server for now. Press Ctrl C to cancel that, and then press Ctrl Shift and V to paste that into your terminal, and then make sure your virtual environment is activated because we want all of these libraries to be used in a virtual environment. If you're not using a virtual environment, feel free to install it within your global Python environment. So I'm going to press enter, and this is going to go ahead and actually install the FastAPI library for us. FastAPI-Mail library rather, and it's going to take a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds. Now once that's done, we're going to go ahead and actually move in here and then begin to write the functionality to deal with the sending of the email. So you can just go ahead and actually take a look at the official documentation. I'm just minimize this for now. This is official documentation. These are the things that you're required to import, and then these are the things that you're required to provide your email and other stuff like that. And then you can go ahead and actually send the email here, right here. So it's nothing complicated. So let's get to it. So let's check if that's all installed. Yeah, it is. Just ignore that error. So open up your Visual Studio Code and let's go ahead and actually import this. So from FastAPI, you want to import a couple of things, right? You want to import according to the documentation, they want us to import background task. You want us to import upload file. They want us to import file. They want us to import a form, depends, and then we also want to import the HTTP exception, and as well we want to import a status. So I think these things might be used internally inside of our application, inside of the FastAPI-Mail library. I'm not sure about that, so you can just go and read it, but I just did as the official documentation suggests that you import all of these libraries, okay, all of these packages. So now that we have that, we'll go ahead and actually import write the functionality to deal with sending of our email. So we need to first provide a couple of configurations, right? So before we do that, you also need to import something from FastAPI-Mail. So from FastAPI_Mail, you're going to be importing the following. We're going to be importing FastMail. We're also going to be importing message schema, and then we're also going to be importing connection config. We're going to be importing those libraries. Yeah, that's what we'll need for now. And then we just go ahead and actually write the configuration to send our email. So this is going to be connection config, and this is going to be just a function, and it takes in a couple of arguments. So the first one is mail underscore username, and then in here you're just going to provide in your username right here, your email. So you can just type in your email here, but for now just ignore this part. I'm just going to keep a string, type all of this out, and I'll explain to you something. So you also need to say mail underscore password. So this is where your email password is going to be. So this is actually going to be an equal And then we also have to install, we have to also say mail underscore from. This is where the email is coming from. Again you can keep this to be your email password, your email address. So mail underscore port, this is the port. By default is just port 587. So let me just write that by the way. So this is 5587. Okay, this is just by the used by SMTP. So if I'm going to be using my Gmail account, and by default Gmail uses port 587 for SMTP. So you can just Google, if you're using Yahoo, you can just go online and Google the port that is used by your email server provider. Okay, so you can just Google that. It's fairly easy. Okay, this one I just found it online. I think also provided by the official documentation. As you can see, it's provided here by the official documentation. So I think that is standard for the port, but I'm not sure. You can just Google it in case you run into any errors. You can just go ahead and actually Google it. So mail server. So mail server is going to be, I'm going to be using Gmail, and the mail server that they use is SMTP. Okay, smtp.gmail.com. again, this is going to be unique to your email service provider. If you're not using Gmail, go ahead and actually Google that and then get the SMTP server for your Gmail, your email provider. Okay, so this is going to be TLC, and you're going to say TLC, use TLC is going to be true. And then you also have mail underscore SSL, and you're going to set that to be false. So SSL is going to be false. And then you're going to have use credentials. So use credentials, and this is going to be set to true. Okay, so use credentials is going to be true. So that's all we need for that to work. So we have the username, the password, the from, the port, the server, which is going to be, you have to Google this. If you're not using Gmail, you have to Google, for example, if you Yahoo, you have to Google the SMTP server for Yahoo, or whatever other service you're using. So I'm using Gmail. If you're using Gmail, this is the official SMTP server URL for Google. Okay, so you're going to say mail underscore TLC is true, mail SSL is true, and then use credentials, which is going to be also true. Great. So now we need to provide in these details right here. Okay, now I don't want to keep my password in my code. That's a very bad practice. Imagine pushing your code to GitHub and it had your password and the other email inside of it, right? You can get hacked easily. So what I'm simply going to do is that I'm simply going to create a .env file. So I'm just going to create .env. So env, and you can see it has the gear icon. So you want that to have the gear icon. So it's just dot and then env. Okay, press enter. This is going to create a .env file. This is a file you can use, keep your confidential image, and then you can put it in the git ignore and prevent it from being pushed to GitHub. So let's go and actually add this to the git ignore file. So I'm going to create a git ignore file, git ignore. Again, you can just create this using the GUI, the user interface here. It also have no problem. So if you go back to the official documentation of we need to install this library called .env. So let's go and actually install this library. So this library, what it simply help us to do is to work with env files. Okay, so I'm just going to install that, paste that there and install it. Make sure that you're installing it in the right environment that you use. So requirements are already satisfied. So I already have that installed. So now you can see that we need to import a couple of things in order for this to work. So let's go back in here. For now, in the .env file, right, we need to provide in our email, our password, and yeah, that's what we need to provide. And we're going to also using JWT for to create our token. So we also need to import keeping something called secret, which I will show you just in a second what it means. So I'm going to have here, this will be your email. Your email goes in here, and then we also have pass, and this is just your password. So this is going to be your password, and then we can also have we're going to have also create secret, and this is going to be just a random hex token. So let's generate that for now, and I'll explain to you just in a second why we're generating those hex tokens. So I'm going to just lowercase, so make sure I get the spelling of Python right. So Python 3. I'm going to import secrets. So this is just a module in Python that will allow us to generate some hex code. So secrets dot token underscore hex, and I'm going to pass in 20. I want token hex of length 20. So it's going to generate for me just a random token hex, and I'm simply going to copy this. Let me just make this bigger and then try to zoom in so that you guys can see. Make this full screen. So this is what I have simply done. I've just generated a hex token from this. From Python, I have import secrets, and then secrets.token hex is going to generate a hex token of 20 characters. So that's the character. If you want to put 30, you have to put in your 30. I'm just going to use 20, and then I'm going to copy this, and then make sure I copy that, and then go back to my application and then paste it in here. So this is just going to be our token, our secret that you're going to be using in creating our JW tokens. Okay, so don't worry about this for now. Just fill in your password, your email, your password, and then copy then perform the hex token in the terminal, copy it, and then paste it in there. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and type in my email and my password, and then I'll be back, and then I'll show you the next step that follows after this. Okay guys, I'm back here. So I've just filled in my email and my password into my .env file. So now let's go ahead and actually begin to use that. So for us to be able to use the .env file, we need to import the library that you have just installed. So I'm just going to import something from .env. So I'm going to say from .env import, I'm going to import .env values. Okay, so I'm just going to come down here, and then I'm going to call this config underscore credential. So this is just going to be .env values, and then I'm going to pass in where my .env file is. So this is it's in the current directory, so I'm just going to say .env. I'm going to provide a relative path to that. So this is going to just load my values from .env and put in form of a dictionaries format. So it's going to have something like, let me just show you from the official documentation. So it's going to have something like I think it's somewhere here. So it's going to have something like this. So it's going to have like our email, and then our email like that, right? So that's basically it. So now that we have that there, we need to now use that value in here. So we're going to say config credentials, and then we want to, since the dictionary, we want to get the email, right? So this is going to be our email, and then you're going to copy that and then repeat it. For this time, it's just going to be our password rather. So paste that in there. This is going to be our pass, so we call it pass. Okay, great. And then again, you're going to just repeat the email there again, keep the email address here. So great, that's all we need for that to work. And then yeah, that's all we need for the email functionality to work. So now let's write the other functionality to actually say the email. So we're going to have a class. This is going to be email schema, the email schema, and this is going to be inherit from the base model, and then the base model is coming from Pydantic, so we need to import that up here. So I'm just going to come up here, and then I'm going to say from Pydantic I'm going to import this is going to be called base model, and I'm also going to be importing email str. That's all we need. So now down here, so I'm going to make sure I do that. And we're going to have something called email, and I'm going to be using type hints. So if you don't know type hints, I have a whole series on type hints on my YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and a whole tutorial on type hints. You can go ahead and actually watch that tutorial. So we're going to take in a list, and the list is going to be email str. So now we need to import this lists from typing. So we need to come up into from typing import lists. Okay, so this is another library. The default, you don't have to install it. If you don't have type hints in Python, this is a latest trend in Python for now, so you have to just learn Python type hints. Most code bases are starting to adapt type hints, so learning type hints as a Python developer will just set you apart from a lot of people. So go ahead and actually watch that video on my YouTube channel. If I remember, I'll keep a link up here. If I don't, you can find it. You can just search for it on my YouTube channel page. It's just about 30 to 40 minute long video. It explains to you type hints in details. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and actually continue typing. So this is going to be in a sync function. You're going to call email, send email, and I'm going to take in an email address which is going to be of type list, and I'm going to take in an instance which is just going to be of type user. So the of type user, this is actually going to be this should be this email right here, right? This is to be of type email schema. Okay, it is going to be user. Now the user is going to be the user model that we have in our application right here. So I'm going to be importing that in there. So I'm going to say from dot models, I'm going to be importing import user. So we're going to be importing the user models, and the instance we're going to be taking, which is going to be the user, is going to be an user model object type. That's what basically that does. So now let's create a token, and the token underscore data, and this is just going to be our JW token. Okay, so it's going to be a dictionary. It's going to have ID, which is just going to be instance dot okay, instance. Let me just make sure I get the spelling of instance right. So this is going to be instance dot ID, and then we're also going to have user name, which is just going to be instance dot user name, just like that, and make sure that I follow the PEP 8 convention by fixing that. So I need to know to import the JW token, so we can use this dictionary information to generate a JW token. So I'm just going to go to the official documentation of JWT and copy this installation link, and you're going to install that in our environment. So I'm just going to exit the Python interpreter, create a terminal, and make sure I paste that there. So pip install JWT is just going to install JWT that we can use. Okay, and that is successfully installed. So let's go back in here, and then we need to import this. So I'm going to say just going to import so just simply say import this is JW. Okay, make sure I get that right. So JWT, that's all we need. Keep a bit of space there. So we're going to importing the JWT, and then down here what we're going to do is generate a token using the JWT token. So JWT stands for JSON Web Token. So I'm going to JWT dot encode. So I'm going to encode this, and I'm going to pass in my dictionary, which is just our token underscore data, which we just created. So this is going to use the user ID and the username to generate a token. Now that token is going to encode this value so that nobody can decode it. So whenever we send this to the user will be able to send that token back to us whenever it's verifying the email. So to use that information that is hidden in the token to get which user is making that request, and then based on the user's ID, right, or username, we can be able to create a data and set the user's verification field, which is this one is verified field, to be true. That's why we're setting the user's ID and the username, so we can, whenever the user sends the token back, we can get the hidden ID and the username, and then use that to create our database and update the user that just verified their email. So that's basically it. I hope you guys understand that. So we have this call. We also need to pass in a secret key here. So I'm just going to pass in a secret. So this, we need to pass in a secret token that will be used to encode our value. So that's why we generated the secrets I told you in the .env file. Now I can open my .env file because it has my credentials, right? So great. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and actually create. So this is going to be our token basically. So if you just run this, is going to send us a token, and we can use that token to identify the user. So if you know about JW token, they're actually very simple. They stands for JSON Web Token. So you can just Google it. I'm not going to go into depth about JW tokens. You can just go ahead, and they even have an official JWT website where you can pass in the token and then be able to decode the token that way. Okay, so for now, let's just go and actually create a template, and this is going to be an F string. Yeah, so this I hope is 3 by 3. Yeah, so that's that. And then in here, I'm going to pass in, just write a simple HTML because I don't want to create a whole template for that. So I'm going to type in doc type and the HTML, and then you're going to go ahead and actually create the HTML, and then make sure I close off that HTML. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually create the head. So make sure I close off that head tag, and then in here we can just go ahead and actually begin to create the body. So let's just, I'm not going to keep any title or anything, just keep it simple. So it's going to be title, sorry, this is going to be body, and then make sure I close off that body tag. So inside of the body tag, what we're going to do, you're going to have a div element. So a div. So in the div, you're simply going to have the following. So div, and then you're going to have something here. You're going to have a div. This is going to have some style. So I'm just going to say style, just keep it an inline style stuff, nothing complicated. This is a display of type flex, and then I'm also going to have align items. So align items of type center. We're going to align the items to the center. We're going to have justify dash content, justify content of type center, and put everything in the center. Again, if it is just a simple CSS, so if you don't know CSS, you just simply type along. So the display flex direction is going to be of type column. That's all we need. So that's the basic style that we need. So now let's go ahead and actually begin to write something in here. So what you're going to have, we're going to have a h3 header. So h3, and what you're simply going to have in there is just going to be account verification. So this is going to be what is going to be sent to the user's inbox. So this is account verification, and then we can close all that h3, and then we can go and actually have a break. So I'm going to put in a break tag here, and then I'm going to have go ahead and actually have a p tag, which is just going to say thanks for choosing. So I called it, I just called the app Easy Shoppers, so I'm just going to call it Easy Shoppers. It's just a name that I gave it. It's nothing complicated. So not Easy Shoppers. You can call it anything that you want. Now I'm going to say please click on the link. It's actually a button, so I'm going to say on the button below, the button below to verify your account, right? So that's all we need to do, and then close all that paragraph tag. Great. So now we're also going to have now create an anchor tag where we're going to actually keep the button. So make sure I create that anchor tag right there, and then make sure I close that anchor tag. So right there. So what I'm simply going to have in here is just going to be simple verify your email. That's what we're going to pass in the button, and then in here we're going to create in some style. So I'm going to style, and the style is going to be equals to the following. Okay, so we're going to just type in here margin dash top. Margin top is going to be 1 rem. So 1 rem. It's just a bit of HTML, bear with me. I know it's boring to watch me type this, but it's just going to be almost done. So 1 rem, and then you're also going to have border dash radius. So border radius is going to be of type 0.5 rem. So 0.5 rem, and then you're going to go ahead and actually have a font, that font dash size. Font size is just going to be 1 rem, and then you're going to have a text decoration, text dash decoration. I'm going to have text decoration of type none. I don't want any text decoration. So I'm going to also have a background. So background, and then the background is just going to be a hex code. So it's going to be a asterisk a hashtag rather, and then 5 D and then 8. Okay, so I'm just looking this from my other screen. So that's what the color that I have used. So color, and then the color is going to be white. It's going to be color of the text, right? So I'm going to just end of that, and then I'm going to pass in the href. So the href, this is where the link is, whenever you press that button right on the email, this is where the button is going to go to. So this is going to be http, and then http colon local host. This is going to be our local host server at port 8000, because our API runs at port 8000 / I'm going to have a verification. So I'm going to have a link. I'm going to have a route called the token verification, that takes in a token, and the token is just going to be the token that you're going to pass to the user. So this is going to be token, and the token is the token that you have just generated here. That's what you have passed in here using that's why I used fstrings API. Okay, if you're not fstrings, you can just Google it on your Google or YouTube, and then you can identify, you can know what fstrings are. So yeah, that's basically it for this sending the verification email. So at the bottom I'm going to also create another paragraph tag, just saying it's going to pass in paragraph tag. It's just going to have, please kindly ignore this email if you did not register for, call it easy shoppers, and nothing will happen. So thanks, just like that, and I'm going to close off that paragraph tag. That's all we need for that to work. So yeah, that's basically it. So we have our HTML here. It takes a long time to type this out, but guys, bear with me. I'm really sorry for that. My deepest apology. So that's all we need to make that work. Okay, so now let's go and actually write the functionality that deals with sending of the actual email. So it's going to be message, and message is going to be a message schema, and then the message schema is going to take in subject. So subject, it is the subject of our email. There's going to be easy shoppers account verification email. So yeah, so our emails, our subject is going to be easy shoppers account verification email, and then the recipient is going to be recipients rather is just going to be email. Okay, and the recipient's email is what you have just passed in here. This argument that you have taken up here is what you're going to be passing in here. Okay, so it's going to be email, and this is just going to be a list rather. So it's just going to be, it's going to be here a list. It's actually a list of emails. So a list of list of recipients. In this case, we're just going to have only one recipient, so it's just going to be just that. And then this function also takes in a body, and the body is just going to be our template, which you have our template that you have just written here. So template, right, that you have just written, which is just going to be this HTML content right there. That's going to be a body for our email, and whenever it gets the user, it will be ready rendered in form of normal HTML. Okay, just like how a website is rendered. So the subtype is just going to be HTML. That's all we need to do. So we have the subject, the recipient, the template, and then the subtype. It is just going to be HTML. Okay, and then you're going to fm equals to FastAPI-Mail, and then you're going to pass in config, and the config are the values that you have passed in here, right? The config values is the value that you have passed in there. So we're going to take in the config, and then what we're going to do is going to await this process a bit. So we're going to await, and then you're going to, what you're going to do is fm.send message, and then you're going to pass in our message, which is just going to be this message right here. Message is going to be message right there. That's all we need to do. So that is going to handle the sending of our email to the client. Now let's go ahead and actually write the part that deals with accepting the user's token and then verifying the user's account, right? So let me just go back. Let's go back to main, which is main here. So what you're simply going to do in here is going to write the function that deals with sending the token to the user and then verifying the token. So it's going to accept the token from the user and then try to verify it and then make sure that everything works fine. Okay, so just going to create a route here, which is going to be called the app here. I'm going to go create a route, decorator app. This is going to be a get route. So it's going to be verification, and verification is the name that you have used here when we are generating our here. This is a verification that you have used here, so just make sure it's the same name that you use here. So now that you have passed in the name of the route, now let's go ahead and actually pass in a response class. So we're going to say a response class is just going to be HTTP response. Okay, so now we can go ahead and actually import this HTTP response from FastAPI. So I'm just going to go FastAPI.response import HTTP response. So I'm just going to come up here and just saying this is going to be dealing with let's call it response classes. And then you're going to say from FastAPI.responses import HTML response, and then that is going to take care of that for us. Also going to go ahead actually okay, let's come back here. For now, let me just explain to you step by step so that you guys can understand. So now that we have that there, and then sorry, we're going to have an async function, async, and then it's going to be called yeah, it's going to be called email underscore verification. And then the email verification is going to take in a it's going to take in a request, because you're going to be dealing with sending a HTML template. So you're going to take in a request, and the request is going to be of type request. Okay, and then it's going to be taking a token, and the token is going to be an str, and the str, this one is going to be passed in by the front end. So now let's go ahead and actually import this token. So we need to import this token from FastAPI. So from FastAPI, we need to import this token. So we're just going to say from come up here, from FastAPI, we're going to import request, and we're also going to be importing okay, now for now let's import request. And now let's come back here to verification route. And in our verification route, what we're simply going to do is that we're going to write a function called verify token, and verify token is just going to receive the token and then try to decode the token and find if the token is verified, and then if the token is verified, it's going to return to us the user that has been encoded in that token. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually do that. So I'm going to create another file here, and I'm going to call this authentication. So okay, you already have the authentications file, so I'm just going to open it up. Great. So in the authentication file, right at authentication.py, you're simply going to write a simple function called a verify token, and it's going to verify if the token that has been passed is correct. So it's going to if it's correct, it's going to return to us the user behind that token. So verify token, and it's going to take in a token, and this token is going to be of type string. Again, if you're not typing, sir, I have a whole tutorial on my YouTube channel about typing, so you can go and check that out. So we're going to get payload, right? So payload is just going to be jwt.decode. So we're going to decode whatever that is going to be sent to us. So by passing a token, we're going to decode that token, and we're going to pass in our config value. So now let's go and actually import a couple of things. So we're going to import jwt, so I'm going to using it to decode. You're going to from dot env import we're going to be importing dot env values. So we're going to get configurations here. So we're just going to get config underscore credentials, and our config credential is going to be dot values, and we're going to pass in our dot env file right here. So the directory to our env file is just going to be .env, which is a relative path. So this is going to get us our .env file. So to decode it, right, whenever we encode, we pass in our secret token. So we also have to pass in the secret token again. So secret credentials, and then get me secret, right, which is just a secret token that we use to encode it. We also need that during the decoding. So after decoding it, you're going to say await. We're going to get the user after decoding it. So this payload is going to consist of our ID of the user and then the username. So we're going to use the ID to get the name of that user. So to get the user that make the request, so the ID is going to be payload payload.get. So this is actually a dictionary, and then you're going to get the ID field from that dictionary. That's all. So this is going to be user, and then you have to import this from the from models. So from models import user. That's all. So we're going to get the user from the database by using the user ID. So this payload, right, it consists of the user ID. Remember, whenever we were sending the email to the user, we created a token consists of the user's ID and then the user's name. So that will be encoded using in the JW token. So whenever we get it back, right, we want to decode it. Whenever we decode it, we're going to turn to a dictionary. From that dictionary, we're getting the ID field to get the user who made that request. Basically, that's all of it. So I hope you guys understand that part. So except this might not work, so we're going to just raise a HTTP exception. So it's HTTP exception. That's all. Sorry, it's actually HTTP exception. So no, HTTP exception right there. So in the HTTP exception, you're going to pass in a couple of things. So in the HTTP exception, you're going to go ahead and actually pass in a couple of things. You're going to pass in status code, and it's going to be status dot let's report status from FastAPI. So okay, you obviously from FastAPI.exceptions, you already imported the HTTP exception. From FastAPI, we also need to import status. So from FastAPI, import status. Okay, so get that status, and then you're going to say status dot this status dot http F404 and authenticated. So looking for F404. So let me just scroll down here. I can find 404. After this, actually 401 rather, unauthenticated. So going to pass in that status code, and then you're going to say detail. The detail is just going to be invalid. It's going to be invalid username or password. This is actually going to be it expired, right? So invalid token, right? You're just going to say invalid token, and then you're going to return a header. So going to return going to pass in our headers. The headers is going to be a dictionary, and this is going to be www, actually uppercase www, this is to be dash authentication, authenticate, and then it's going to be of type bearer. So this is going to be of type bearer. Yeah, that's all we need for that to work. So now that we have that, you're going to raise that HTTP exception. Else, if everything went well, we're just going to return user. That's all. So you're going to try to decode it, and if you successfully decode it, you're just going to return the user. But you decode it, we use the users we use the ID that has been hidden in the token that you have obtained to get the user who made that request. If this fails, means that the token is expired or is invalid token, and then you're going to raise this HTTP exception. Also, you're going to return the user that has been discovered from this part. Okay, that's all we need to write the verified token. So let's go back to our main.py. So we need to also say from authentication, we need to import that from authentication, import this. We also need to import verified token. So if you back to our route here, just what we're going to do is you're going to check if the token is authenticated, and if the token is verified and everything went well, we're just going to return a template, the user that contains a page where the user we can inform the user that his account has been verified. So the thing we're going to do is you're going to get the user, and the user is going to be, you're going to await. So await, it is going to be a verified token, and you're going to pass in the token that it's going to be passed in as a query parameter. So we're going to get that token and then pass it to verified token that is going to return to us the user. And then when the user is returned, great, so this line is going to return to us the user. So now that we're going to have the user, we're going to check if the user exists, right? And not user dot is verified, and the user is not verified. So if the user exists and the user is not verified, user dot is verified, we're going to set that to be true. We're going to make the user we're going to set the user's account to be verified, and then you're going to set you're going to now save that into the database. So user dot save that to our database. So that's all we need to do to update the user, and then you're simply going to return a template. We're going to return template. Okay, so now we need to import a couple of things from FastAPI. So we have imported the HTTP request. Now we're going to be importing we need to create a template. So let's go ahead and actually import this from FastAPI. So we need to actually set up a couple of configurations for this thing to work. So I'm just going to come up here and do some importation. So I'm going to just create a comment templates. Okay, so I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to say from FastAPI dot templating, I'm going to import a ginger template, and then I'm also going to import yeah, that's all we need for now. And then I'm also going to set a configuration for our template. So I'm going to just come down here and then go back to our route, and just above where we are creating the verification, right, I'm going to create something called templates, and this is just going to be the ginger2 templating class that you have just, and then you're going to create a directory where the templates are going to be found. So we're going to create all our templates, right, into a folder called templates. So that's what we need to provide in here. So we need to provide in a folder called templates, and let's go and actually create that folder, and let's make sure we call it the name templates, or whatever name that you have specified here. By default, by convention, we call it templates, so just make sure you call it templates, and then creating a folder here called templates. So this way our FastAPI is going to look for all our HTML templates. Great. So I'm going to say templates dot this is going to be template response, and that we need to now pass in our template. So I'm going to call it verification verification.html. that's the name of our template. And then now that we have that set up, let's go and actually pass in a request. So we're going to pass in a request as well. So we're just going to say request is going to be of type request. Okay, the request that you have just accepted in here, you're just going to pass it in here. That's all we need. It is going to be a string, so request is going to be of type request, and this is actually a dictionary. Okay, so this is actually a dictionary. Okay, so now that we have that there, and also we need to pass in the username. So I'm going to pass in the username, and I'm going to show you where you're going to use the username just in a second. So username is going to be of type user.user name. That's all we need to do. So great, that's all we need to do for that to work. So we're just going to pass in our template name, and then a dictionary contains a request, and then the username. So that's all we need to do. In case this fails, we're going to return a HTTP exception. So I'm going to copy this, and then bring it here, and I'm going to simply paste it here. In case we fail, it's just going to return this HTTP raise this HTTP response. Okay, so this is going to be imported from FastAPI. From FastAPI, import this as well. So paste that in there, import HTTP exception. So also need to import status from FastAPI, and this is going to be status, do it like that. So great, so you're going to just return that, and you're going to say invalid token, just like that, and you're going to leave that to be there. So great, so now that we have that, let's go ahead. You can say invalid token or expired token, just like that. Invalid token or expired token, just like that. So now that we have that, let's go ahead into our templates in here, and then create call this verification verification.html, which is just the name that we have provided for our templates right here. So we call it verification.html, and this is the HTML file that you have created for it. So this HTML file is just simply a simple HTML file that consists of templates, or HTML, basic HTML templates that basically informs the user that their account has been created. Nothing complicated. So I'm just going to make that type in that HTML. So this could be account verification. So I've already written this code, and I'm just simply going to copy it and paste it. I'm going to be using Bootstrap so that we don't waste much typing out this HTML. You can find this code, if I remember, I'll leave this code in the description, or you can just pause this video and watch that tutorial, that video. So I'm just going to get this and then I'll be back shortly. Okay. Yeah guys, I'm just back. So I'm just going to copy all of this and then paste what I have just copied. So this is just going to be a simple HTML file. It just has that we're going to be using Bootstrap for this, and then you just change the title to be verification. Okay, so this is going to be account verification, so I'm just keep account here. Okay, that's all we need, and it is just a simple HTML file that consists of a simple card, and then the card just consists of a button. It's very simple. So you can find this code on the GitHub page, or you can just simply pause the video and type it out. So this is all you have to type out, and then make sure that you include the Bootstrap links in there. Okay, so this is all you have to type out, and then just include the Bootstrap link. And the Bootstrap link, you can find it online, so you can just go to let me just search it, Bootstrap. Let's check Bootstrap. Let's go to bootstrap.com, and then you can just copy the Bootstrap tags. So you just copy the CSS tags and then you paste it. So just copy these CSS tags and you place it here. So you just copy the CSS tags and you place it here, just here. You paste that tag there, and then you copy the HTML tag, the JavaScript tag. You copy this, and then these ones you place it here just before the closing body tag. You paste it here. So that's all I did, and then you just have to pause the video and type in this part of the code. So it's just nothing fancy, just very simple. Yes guys, so now that we have this functionality working, let's go ahead and actually figure out some parts of our code. So let's go back to main, right? And in here we're going to say from email, which is just going to be emails, right? I'm going to import everything. So I've just changed my file name to become emails. I just changed to become emails because it's much convenient for me, so I changed it to become emails. And then down here, right, I'm going to know this we're going to be sending the email. So we're going to await send email. We're going to pass in a list, and the list is just going to be instance.email, and then I'm also going to pass in instance. So this is going to be instance. Okay, great. And also, if you come back to where you're sending the email, right, instead of I wrote a class here that accepts, that has an email schema. I have deleted that class since it's not necessary. I found out it's not necessary and we can improve our code. So this is going to be email is going to be of type list rather than that object instance. So those are the things that I have changed for now. So this is going to be just a list object right here. Okay, so this email is going to be of type list, and then this one remains as it is, and then this is just going to be of list type. And then that's all we need for now. Just go back and check for the main. So this is where we are sending the email, right? So that's all we need. So if I go back to mail, right, if I go back to emails, right, and you see this part right, is actually SMTP. So this is SMTP. Previously I wrote PAT. Okay, so it's SMTP, so it's going to be TP, just like that. Make sure it's SMTP or else you get an error. Okay, great. Also in the email part here, I've just also discovered an error. It is going to be not a comma, a semicolon. It's just going to be actually a colon. So background is going to be a colon, and then this here X code color. Okay, that's all we need for now. So those are errors that I identified. I didn't want us to waste time watching me fix those errors, so I paused the video, fix those errors, and just start recording the video again. So those are the things that we need. And then also if you go back to, I identified also one error. So if you go back to emails, right, in where we are encoding this, we're doing the emails where you're encoding the token, right? You're creating this token. We also need to pass in one more thing. We can also pass in algorithms. So we can also use algorithms when generating our token. So we can pass in here algorithms. So if I just go algorithms, algorithms is just going to be a list, and the list is just going to be HS 256. That's the algorithm that you're going to be using to encode. So this is going to say algorithms rather. Okay, algorithm is just going to be this algorithm right here. So algorithm is text in a type string, so this is actually a string, and then that's the algorithm. And then you're going to copy this. For decoding, we're going to be using go back to the verification token. So if I go to authentication token here, this is actually going to pass in also another thing called algorithms, and this is going to be a list of algorithms. So I'm going to paste that in there. Just going to paste this part. Okay, so remove that, and then click. So this algorithm is going to be a list, and you're going to be using this algorithm to decode it, which is a HS 256 algorithm. Okay, make sure that H and S are all uppercase. So I'm going to save that, and then now let's go back to our front end, and then try to start our development server, and then let's try to register our user. So I'm going to go to the front end, which is just up here, and then I've just tried it out, and then I got some errors, and then I fix those errors. So I'm going to refresh this to make sure everything is okay. Go back to temporary email here, temp mail. So you can just go to tempmail.org, and then you can find a temporary email on Google, and then you can use this temporary email to test out your application. I'm going to copy that temporary email, go to user registration, and then click on try, and then paste in your email, and then the username, you can just say anything, maybe test user 123. Okay, then the password is just going to be secret, and I'm going to keep secret, and then I'm going to execute this. So this is going to send a request to the back end, and the back end is going to send an email, and it's going to tell us hello test user 123, thanks for choosing our services. So now check your email for that. So I'm going to go to my email inbox here, and then try to wait for that email. You can see we have that email right there. That email just popped up, and if I try to open it, and I'm going to get this email right here. So if I click on verify my email, so verify, and it's going to take me to this page here, telling me hello test user 123, you can now log into your account, enjoy the free account. So now that shows that our email verification procedures work. So these are just some errors that I made, so I just fixed them. Just include the algorithms here. Also in here, make sure that you pass in a list. Okay, so that is that. And then also in here, make sure that you accept in here a list, not the email schema that I was using previously. Also make sure to include the algorithm in here, and make sure that you change the semicolon into a colon. That's all. Those are errors that I made, and I just fixed them, and then that's all. So that's the functionality to verify our emails. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial so far, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Keep safe.